Hey, everybody. Welcome to Talking with Natasha. I'm here with comedian Kal Penn.
How are you?
Great to see you. I'm
Great to see
good.
you. Thanks for having me.
How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Beautiful day outside.
It
Not
is
too
nice.
cold.
Yeah. Do you like when the temperature starts to change? You a fan of fall?
I'm a weird, so I like it when it's warm. I like it when it's freezing cold. If it's between, to me, between 40 and 55 is the coldest I feel. Like my feet and nose, I have a big nose. They are cold during those temperatures. Below that, and you're bundled up, and it's great. Yeah.
So like 20 degrees, you're fine.
I'm fine at 20.
Okay. Is it just the...
Fine at 80. It's just that little...
It's that one range where things just start to go downhill for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we met at a party where when I walked in, it was like full of women wearing gala dresses, and I was in jeans. And then I run into you, and I'm like, oh, you're the other underdressed person, just like me. We're going to be friends now.
Totally. I appreciated that so much because sometimes you get an invite to something and you don't know, like, is it...
What's the attire?
What's the attire? And neither of us looked bad, but it was very clear that we were underdressed.
Yeah.
I'm glad we bonded off of that.
I'm glad too. Okay, so you're a Jersey boy.
Yep.
And now you live here in New York.
I do.
Who's got better bagels?
Oh, man, what are you trying to do?
I'm putting you on the spot now.
This is the most controversial question. I will say I'll go with Jersey, but New York's got better pizza.
Okay. Pizza, I feel like pizza is very important.
Yes.
I mean, that is where the controversy begins, but it's all in the water when you make the bagels.
Yeah, that's right. And probably then the core memory of just like the first bagels you ate are the Jersey bagels, right?
Yeah.
So,
is there a favorite Jersey bagel place that you go to?
I think it closed the last couple of years, but there's a place called Eli's Bagels on Route 34 in Aberdeen, New Jersey.
Okay.
Which was sort of on the way to the nearest train station in the city. So that was like that's where we would pick up bagels as kids, but then also if you were like running late and you had a meeting in the city, pop in there, get yourself a bagel sandwich, hop on the train.
Yeah.
I know you're not supposed to eat on the train, but New Jersey Transit has bigger problems than eating on the train.
Their trains don't always run, so...
They don't always run, and you can't see through the window, which is ludicrous.
Yeah. Well, so, okay, I'm glad you bring up NJ Transit because I just listened to your newest podcast episode with former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg of like, why is history repeating itself? Why isn't the transportation? Why isn't it working? And I'm really interested in this new podcast you launched. It's called Here We Go Again.
Yep.
Why did you decide that you wanted to delve into history?
So, obviously, like every actor has a podcast, and I listen to a lot of them, and I love the format, but I just sort of thought, unless there's a real hook that I enjoy, I don't. There are people far funnier than me, far more intelligent, far more thoughtful. I'm happy to listen to all those things. I don't necessarily need to contribute to the conversation. And then I was talking to Ed Helms' company, and they had this idea for a podcast that they wanted to be funny and uplifting, but also looked at not politics, but like pop culture, history, government, how those things all intersect in a way that isn't doom and gloom. And so we like fleshed out this idea for Here We Go Again, which is essentially like you pick a topic, or I pick a topic in pop culture and history, and we look at how that history repeats itself. So I'll give you an example. You mentioned Pete Buttigieg, right?
Yeah.
So he was just transportation secretary, love him or hate him politically, irrelevant to our conversation. Our conversation was about like, okay, we've had bridge collapses. Trains don't necessarily run. Why is it my like big pet peeve that I got to ask him was like, how come every time if your flight is actually shockingly early, like there's no gate for your plane? Like how do these things keep happening? And so it was a fun and light conversation, but I also like learned a lot about infrastructure, which is a really boring word and not what I would ever want to pitch a podcast as. Another episode we had was Bill Nye.
Yes, the space race.
He was my first guest.
Wow.
And I'm a big astronomy nerd. This jacket is too small for me to pull up the
you've got a tattoo.
Got a couple of tattoos that are all astronomy related.
Really?
So
I see that one peeking out.
Yeah, the one peeking out here. So Bill is like, obviously he's the science guy. He runs the Planetary Society. So having him on to talk about the space race, like back in the day in the 80s and 90s, the space race was between superpowers. It was the U.S. versus the Soviet Union, and it was all publicly funded, or mostly publicly funded. And today it seems like the space race is all between billionaires.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask him, like, what's changed? why has this shifted a little bit? Why do you have to be a billionaire to go to space? Why is NASA not being funded the way that it used to? So it's that kind of stuff where I'm like, we all love Bill Nye and we all love these sorts of topics. So it was like, that was the in. So what I thought was, it was answering questions I wasn't getting in other podcasts.
It is really interesting. We just had Neil deGrasse Tyson on the show. Yeah. And I kind of asked him a similar question. I'm like, do you think that humans are going to colonize Mars? And his answer was no, unless China says they want to do it.
Oh, wow.
Then we might enter that space race to Mars.
Okay.
It is interesting. Are these just like, these are topics you've always been interested in? And are you seeing a trend in history repeating itself?
I think the trend that I'm seeing, which is very cool, is that these are totally disparate topics, right? Like, we'll have some that are really silly, but with a grain of, hey, I want to learn something. So, for instance, just shot an episode with Lily Singh, who's wonderful. She just had a movie that came out called Doing It, really funny comedy. And she was one of the 5 people who basically are the reason that YouTube content creators are a thing. And so I talked to her about the cycle from like, all right, in the 2010s, 2011s, when YouTube content creators were coming up on their own and peaking, and she was suddenly on all these Forbes lists. Then she's getting hired to do like shows, late night shows for NBC and her own movies. And then it comes back around where digital content creators themselves are really the powerhouses behind things. So what does that cycle look like? That's a smaller cycle. That's not like a Cold War versus now. All of this is to say, the thing that I learned from all of this is all really positive, because the people who we're interviewing in some way are part of solutions. So they have a real understanding of maybe things that went wrong in the past, challenges that they're willing to share with us. And in a world that I just think is, every time you turn on the news or open up like a Twitter, Instagram, anything, it's all doom and gloom. It's all people screaming at each other. Yeah. It's been really fun to have a 45-minute, hour-long conversation with people who are really talking about the stuff that affects us all in a kind of an uplifting way. Right. So you feel plugged in. Like, I don't know anything about YouTube content creating. I don't know anything about transportation, but I'm interested in it, and I felt a little better about knowing how to navigate things that I might be curious about.
Yeah, you learn more from it too.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've got this live chat going. A lot of people are joining us. Hello to everybody. Dan Stump asks, hey guys, what is an example of history repeating itself in the entertainment industry?
Oh man, so we actually have an episode about this. We haven't dropped it yet, but it's about remakes.
Okay.
So why is it that there are like 18,000 Fast and the Furious movies? No shade, by the way, to the Fast and the Furious movies. I'm just saying, why are there so many of these movies?
Right.
But then you'll have audiences, especially if you're really in tune with an actor or a comedian you like, you're kind of like, why don't you write something original? And so we explored why that is, and why business-wise in Hollywood, you've got movies that have made a lot of money. Obviously, producers and networks want to make more of the things that they know made money because it's less business risk. So we looked at that. We looked at the difference between, like, obviously now everything is streaming, right? You've got Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, all the streamers.
All of them.
Linear, traditional TV, which is linear TV, like when you used to watch it at like, 8 o'clock on Wednesday night, show's coming on, appointment viewing, that was always, I don't want to say regressive in like the negative sense, but like the business model for linear TV was ad driven, right? Yeah. Advertisers are paying money for commercials. So if a show did well and it was like a Friends, for example, right? Like, what are their jobs? How are they all affording to live in the West Village or wherever they were in New York City, right? You kind of like that suspension of disbelief. Friends did so well. It was such a funny show that networks were then looking for shows that were just like Friends again. So it was like, why are these things repeating itself? Enter the streaming platforms, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon. Suddenly, there's so much more diversity of content. And I don't just mean ethnic, racial, gender diversity. There was that too. Yeah. But suddenly you have shows where like you're able to do and say things that you just couldn't do on network TV. Right. Because streaming platforms are subscription-based and they don't have to look at last year's shows to see what did well.
You know, this reminds me of when Girls came out on HBO.
Great example.
With Lena Dunham. And I just remember that being such a cultural shift and like, whoa, we're talking and seeing sex. And I don't know if I like ever saw that on linear TV.
Yeah, right. I think that's right. So we looked at things like that. So that episode will drop at some point, but it's basically what those cycles are like and how it repeats itself in entertainment.
Okay, since you brought up certain movies repeating themselves.
Yes.
Let's talk about what you can talk about.
Sure.
Okay, so people tuning in right now obviously know you from Harold and Kumar.
Thank you.
And when you look at Y2K movies, that's it. Like that, when you were filming that, did you realize you were going to be part of this cultural phenomena?
No clue. So I remember getting the script for that movie, and I met John Hurwitz and Hayden Schlossberg, who are the two fantastic creators of the franchise. They've written all 3 movies. They directed the second one. I met them at a friend's birthday party, and they pitched me the idea. And imagine this is 20 years ago, right? So there are virtually no movies with leads who look like me and John Cho.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of by that point, jaded, because I had been trying to work in entertainment for long enough, and you'd get your bit parts, but every actor is jaded.
And how old were you at the time?
I was 27, 26, 27, something.
Which is, that's prime time for acting, and you were having
Definitely.
You were having a hard time.
Every actor has a hard time, but especially when back in the day when you know that so much of it is based on, there hasn't been that much diversity. So like I said, everybody's always looking backwards, right? So if nobody's done it before, it's a real risk to do it for the first time. So anyway, so they tell me about the script. I'm like, you're never going to sell it. Why don't we find some venture capitalists and shoot it for a couple $100,000, low budget? And they looked at me like I was crazy. They were like, no, we're gonna sell this to a studio. It's like, but guys, you don't understand. You're not. And we had a back and forth, and John Hurwitz, I'll never forget this, goes, listen, I just want to let you know, we are making a movie called Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. We are not trying to make a movie called David and Jason Go to McDonald's. This movie will be sold, and it'll be made in exactly the way that we wrote it. Otherwise, we have no interest in selling it. And they were right. They sent me the script. I thought it was really funny. Goes out on the market. A wonderful producer named Nathan Kahane has a company. He bought it. New Line Cinema ended up doing what's called a negative pickup deal with Warner Brothers, distributing it later on.
Oh my gosh!
So we had no clue, that it would A, ever get made, but then B, when it got made. Other thing everybody forgets talk about this is that it goes back to the question of entertainment stuff repeating itself. So we go to the theater on opening night. We're like, let's hop around a bunch of different theaters around LA and see the crowd reaction. There were maybe 15 people in each audience. Nobody was going to see this movie opening weekend.
Oh my gosh. And that's got to be alarming.
It was alarming. And it also think about it, for any actor, if your first movie tanks, nobody's calling you to do a movie, right? So a good 6 months went by, and it was honestly, I can't speak for John or anybody else, but I was super depressed. I'm thinking this was my big shot, and we failed. The movie didn't do well, and the phone is not ringing, and I can't go back to my day jobs because the store at the mall is you're too recognizable to work at the store because your turnover won't be high enough.
Yeah.
But also you're you need a gig, you need a side gig, and then. The movie dropped on HBO, came out on DVD. Fans went and found it on their own. There was no marketing campaign for the DVD. And that's why when I talk about this movie, it's 20 years ago, it's an eternity ago, but I have such fondness for the fans because they were the ones who made it successful and gave us a chance to do a second and third film and maybe a fourth, which I know is what you were hinting at.
That's what I'm hinting at. Okay, I'm going to have people stick around. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk about the fourth movie and whether Kal's going to be in it. Stick with us. Welcome back, everyone. I am here with Kal Penn. Kal, I want to take a question from some of our guests here who are tuning in and watching. So Ahmad asks, was that the first time you met Neil Patrick Harris in that first movie?
Oh, man. Yes, it was. The first time I met Neil Patrick Harris was shooting the first Harold and Kumar. What a great guy, first of all. Yeah. So funny. He's very talented and has done, you probably know this if you're asking the question, tons of Broadway. He's a magician. There's nothing.
So much range.
So much range. So it was a real treat working with him. And then he did all 3 movies, obviously. And then I think it was between the second and third. No, after the third movie, I got to do a season of How I Met Your Mother. So
that's
we
right.
Reunited for that.
Someone says, I only know him as Kevin from How I Met Your Mother. What was it like working on that show?
I loved it. So I was in, it was season 8 or 9, I think. And when you come on a show late, I'm always curious, do people actually like each other?
Yeah.
Is the vibe going to be fun, or are they sick of this? They're on their way out. They couldn't have been more welcoming, first of all. It was so clear that the cast really loved each other. And I had just finished a stint in government, so I took a 2-year sabbatical from acting, and I was a little self-conscious about, like, I got to shake off this, like, weird government job seriousness and get back into learning how to make jokes again. And they were so, like, trust us. If you do something that isn't funny, we're going to tell you. Yeah. Because this is what we do. Right? Like, the showrunner was like, we have a bunch of Emmys for a reason. Calm down. It's totally fine. They meant that in the sweetest way possible.
Were you writing a lot of your bits then on there, or were they?
No. The writers are awesome.
Any improv?
No, not on that show. There was some improv in Harold and Kumar, but again, there it's only because John and Hayden created such a solid framework that they're like the script itself was incredible. Like, if you want to play around with it, play around with it. I wrote a bunch of, again, with a huge team, but when I guest hosted The Daily Show for a couple of weeks, year before last, you get to really be in the writer's room and be at the helm with an incredible team that it wouldn't have happened without.
That has to be really fun, because that's like, that's like exercising another muscle that you have as a comedian. Yeah. Alex asks, the Harold and Kumar jaywalking scene is one of my favorite movie jokes. Who came up with that?
That's John and Hayden, for sure. The guys who wrote the film. Yeah. It was a really funny scene. It was really funny to shoot, too. It was just, we were shooting outside of Toronto. And all of that for a low-budget movie, like, you really got to go to places. It was just a random intersection in the middle of the night with a small crew shooting this thing. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, so take me back then to where we were talking about this before the break. Just you can't get a job at Abercrombie and Fitch because you're too famous, but the phone's also not ringing for your next gig. So when does the phone start ringing? Is it when it goes to HBO and this movie becomes like a cult classic?
Yeah, it was a couple of things. There was, I think every actor, you're always hustling. And I'm talking about back in the day when things were analog, right? So it's not like I could test out my jokes on like a TikTok reel or something. You really have to like pool your resources, shoot something, find an editor, send it out to see if anybody responds to it, make a tape, all of that. And those were things that you would do. But it wasn't until Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle really caught on DVD and on HBO. And filmmakers who were really thoughtful would call. So like I had this 4-episode arc on 24, and I loved that arc. And that's obviously a drama. And the producer on that, I remember, reached out and said, he was of the belief that anybody who does comedy can do drama, but not vice versa. And I was like, I'll leave the philosophical arguments to other people. I'm honored that you'd think of me. So like a gig like that right, was huge. I loved that. I had the chance to do, one of my favorite films is called The Namesake.
Yeah, I saw that.
That Mira Nair directed. She was a role model of mine. I didn't know her as a kid, but she was a role model of mine. And this movie she did way back in the day with Denzel Washington and Sarita Choudhury called Mississippi Masala.
Oh, yeah.
Was the first time that I'd seen people who looked like me on screen. And what I mean by that is not like, oh, it was a positive depiction. No, there were like a full Indian family that had financial problems, that got angry, that were racist against other people. There were things that make you human, like fully fleshed out characters. I remember being inspired by that. So when I heard that this book, The Namesake, was being turned into a movie and that Mira was directing it, I tried to get an audition for it. And my agent couldn't get me into audition. And I was like begging them. So I wrote her a letter. And I basically said, I watched your movie Mississippi Masala when I was 14 years old. One of the reasons I'm an actor. Please let me audition for this movie. She received the letter, calls my agent. I fly to New York. And I walk into the audition and she goes, you should know 2 things. One, the role has actually already been cast, but I got your beautiful letter. And you said I had to let you audition. It would mean a lot to you. So because this other actor's deal isn't closed, I'm letting you audition. But number 2, the real reason you're here is my 14-year-old son, Zohran.
Zohran Mamdani.
Zohran Mamdani, for folks who don't know, is a huge fan of Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. And for the last 6 months, he and his best friend Sam have been showing me clips from the movie telling me that I should audition you to play the lead in my very serious drama. And I said, this is obviously not the guy. Look at this movie. It's puerile. It's like not at all what my elevated Pulitzer-winning adaptation is going to be. But then I got your letter, and because my son has been lobbying for you for the last 6 months. Anyway, so he's going to stick around. Like, if you can stick around after your audition, he would love to say hi. So basically, I give this audition knowing I'm not going to get the part because somebody else had already gotten it. Mates are on. A couple months go by. The other actor had dropped out. I end up getting the lead in The Namesake.
Wow.
And so he and I have known each other, obviously, since he was a kid.
Since he was 14.
I'm very biased. I think the world of him. Our politics also do align. But that was an example of couldn't get a job after Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle came out until it started doing well on DVD. And then both filmmakers who wanted to flip the script and cast me in something like 24 called. And then there was also like movies that you wanted that didn't work out because the filmmaker was like, this is the wrong guy, until their kid was like, actually, you should audition.
I'm listening to the story and I'm thinking so many things in the universe have to line
100%.
up.
That's always how it is with any artist. A lot of athletes too will tell you the same thing. Is like there are so many. Like look at the art. Look at what you do. There are so many people who are so good at these jobs, and at some point, it's also a matter of right place, right time. It's not that you're not putting in the work, but a lot of people are putting in the work. A lot of people are talented. A lot of people are doing the right thing. So the way like you said, I guess you can call it the way the universe comes together, or good fortune, or right place, right time, whatever it is.
You got to trust the process too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and write letters.
Yeah, and write letters.
Heartfelt.
Nobody does that.
No one does that anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Harold and Kumar 4 in the works.
Right. So, don't know if it's actually happening. The producers have made a deal with the writers to write one.
So it's in the works.
So the idea of it is in the works.
Got it.
I am obviously very available and interested should they close a deal with the actors. But yeah, I think, it's been 20 years. What I love about those films is they're all three of them are satire. We make fun of everybody, including ourselves, in those movies. And it's one of the things that I love about comedy today is if, like some of my favorite stand-up comedians are like Shane Gillis or my friend Daniel Sloss, who's in New York right now. I've been opening for him at Soho Playhouse off and on this week. There's like people who are really fun, interesting storytellers that that's the thing I love about the guys who write the Harold and Kumar movies. So I would love to do a fourth one. I
think that would be great.
From your mouth to producers' ears.
If they're listening. Was that your first time eating White Castle?
What, in that movie?
First movie?
That's a great question. Yes. And the weird thing is they're all over New Jersey, but I'm not really a big fast food guy.
Yeah.
And when we shot that first movie, I was a vegetarian. And they were very kind.
It's a conflict of interest.
It was not conflict of interest. You know what's funny? The New York Post, I remember that when we were promoting the movie, the publicists on the film were like, don't mention that you're vegetarian. I was like, why? It's a stoner movie. Also, the movie is not really a stoner movie because only bad things happen to them when they're high. Like it's a movie about friendship and they're hungry. They're like, yeah, but we would just prefer if you don't mention that you're vegetarian. Some journalists had asked me if I was, and I wasn't going to lie. So I said yes. And I don't remember the exact headline, but it was like the New York Post made some like salacious headline like actor in White Castle movie secretly vegetarian.
Secretly doesn't eat product.
And that was probably the most publicity we got for that film. So I was like, oh, I see what they meant by not wanting me to say anything about my dietary habits. But our props person on the movie was great about making little veggie sliders. The White Castle company was wonderful through that whole process. And the irony is that when I got to know one of their VPs while we shot the first movie, and I kept telling him, like, man, you should introduce a veggie burger. And they said something to the effect of like, do you know our target customer and what time they come? Nobody wants a veggie burger at White Castle. Now, 20 years later, they have an Impossible Burger on the menu, which is delicious.
Yeah.
And it's just a funny, like, wow, times have changed.
You were ahead of the curve.
I guess I was. I'm no longer vegetarian.
Yeah. Oh, you're not?
No.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
now
you
can't
eat
the sliders. Okay, we've got
all the things.
You eat all the things. We've got 2 minutes left in this. You said the Lily Singh episode is coming out on your podcast next.
Lily Singh episode drops very soon. And it's by the way, if you have ideas on who you want to hear for a conversation about why things keep repeating themselves, and, with the thought of here we go again, like, shoot me a DM, obviously subscribe to the pod, but like, let us know, because we've got a ton of these episodes and we're lining up really interesting guests who are historians and professors. There's one that we're doing with Varsha Sharma, who runs Teen Vogue, about everything from the way that magazines are changing to the influence of politics and fashion So these are all like totally different.
Very
right?
interesting. But there's such a range, but I think the thread is the same. The more things change, the more things stay the same. And hopefully history doesn't repeat itself after a while and we can learn from our mistakes.
That's the kicker of this is that, yes, things do repeat themselves, but we all have agency to affect those things. And so it's not a preachy podcast, but I want to understand this idea a little bit better and how I fit into making the world a little bit better.
Well, Kal Penn, it's been an honor to talk to you.
This is really fun. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Me too. In 2013, I was inspired to go to White Castle because of you.
Oh, no way. And what'd you think?
I liked it. The crispy chicken was my favorite.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We love to hear that.
I wouldn't eat a ton of them, but they're really good. Yeah. They're really good. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Until next time.